In this video, I'm going to give you an insight to pike fishing here at Wyreside. All the lakes at Wyreside have got pike in them. However, the main pike waters are Bantons, Sunnyside 1, Sunnyside 2 and Wyre. If I was targeting a big pike, a 20 pounder, I would be focusing my attentions on Sunnyside 2 or Wyre. The biggest fish so far out of Sunnyside 2 is just over 20 pounds and Wyre has done a 25 pound pike. If I was going to target the big pike on these waters, on Sunnyside 2, the roadside seems to produce the most fish. Pegs 1 and 9 have got to be the favourite for the pike. And moving on to Wyre, the pike do get around on this lake. You can catch them from all areas. But the biggest pike out there came out of the point. Also wind swim, helipad and new swim or hot pegs for the pike. If I was going to target lots of bites, trying to get a bend in the rod, Sunnyside 1 would be the lake for you. This lake has a massive head of pike. The biggest one out there is 19 pounds, but I'm sure there probably is a 20 in there now. But it's got a fantastic head of 10 pound plus pike, and I wouldn't be surprised if you reported 5 to 10 bites in just a day, because there is a massive head of pike in there, and they do get around all the areas, but the favourite areas would be 11, 8 and peg 3 up in the shallows. All them pegs are really popular for the pike, but like I say, any peg on the day can be the one. The pike fishing rules here at Wyreside are a little bit different to the carp rules, as to be expected. The main rules are as follows: you must have a large unhooking mat and a landing net, and also tools to unhook pike safely. Pike do look fierce and scary, however they can be really delicate with unhooking, so having long forceps, side cutters is an absolute essential. You must use 15 pound minimum line or 30 pound minimum braid. Your trebles must be semi-barbed, so the barb is in the dead bait. You're only allowed to dead bait or spin, and you must use a wire trace at all times. That is the main rules here. We haven't got loads of rules in place, just the basics to keep the fish safe and in tip-top condition for you. Now moving on to baits. As I've mentioned, it is only dead baits or spinning at Wyreside. All dead baits have the time. I know Pete, he does really well on lamprey and eel section, but this season especially my favourites have been head sections of mackerel or roach. If I'm fishing a float, roach would be my go-to, because these lakes are full of roach and it's the natural food for the pike. With regards to rigs for pike fishing, I keep things really basic and really simple. I have 2 go-to rigs. One is fishing on the bottom, a running ledger, and the other one is a suspended deadbait up in the water from a float. So I'm going to show you how I set them up, and these have worked for me. I've caught multiple pike off the property up to 18 pounds. So first up, I'm going to do my bottom bait rig, which is very simple. So you take your line off your rod. I normally use a 2 ounce lead unless I'm fishing at range. Just slide the 2 ounce lead onto your line, followed by a bead, and then you need a trace. So this is a size 8 twin treble trace, semi-barbed. The Pike Pro ones and the Fox ones are the ones I go for because they're very supple and fairly long. So they come with your 2 trebles on, your bait flags and a swivel. So I tie the swivel on, just pass the line through the swivel, form a loop, wrap round 5 times, back through the loop you've made, pull it down to there, and then give it a little bit of lubrication. Pull the knot down nice and tight. Trim the tag end, and that is my bottom bait set up. Lead, bead, swivel, down to your wire trace, and your 2 trebles. My starting point for baits on this rig would be a mackerel, half a mackerel. Last week when I was fishing, the head sections did really well, but other weeks the tails do as well. It's really just keep chopping and changing. Same with sizes of bait. Sometimes a big bait will score well, other times you want a really small bait. So what I'd do with this is cut this mackerel at an angle, like so. Drop the head back in the bucket, and then I am going to hook the mackerel on. If you're fishing at distance, I'd suggest using the tail section because they're a lot tougher. If you're fishing close in, the head sections are perfectly fine. So I find the treble with the barb on, place that right through the base of the tail. You'll notice I've leave the bait flags on. It's a little bit of added attraction, bit of a colour. And then place the treble there. So that's 2 trebles in. And then that is your complete rig and bait. Like so. Ready to cast out. Now moving on, I'm going to show you how to set up my float rig. One last thing to mention is I fish that on the bottom. I've never popped dead baits up. If I want dead baits up off the bottom, I'll fish them on a float. And now I'm going to show you how to set up my float rig. Right, now I'm going to show you how to set up my float fishing rig for pike. This is my go-to for pike fishing. I really like watching a float and I think it's really effective. So how to set it up? First of all, take a small bead, thread that onto your line, and then you will need a medium bobber. Slide that on like so, orange end first. Once your line's through, you'll then need a little weight. These are 4 gram bullet weights from Fox Range. Slide that on thin end first, and then next you'll get your trace, size 8 trace again. On, make a loop, 5 turns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just pass that back through the loop. Pull that down, a little bit of lubrication, bed it down. Trim the tag end off, and then you'll have your rig set up. So you've got your trace, weight, float, and a bead. And then with this, I normally fish this mid-water. 3 foot down's always been good, but I always alter the depth. How you'd set your depth on this is take some elastic or thick mono. I use elastic because I feel it slides up and down the line a lot better when I want to move the depths. So you just take the elastic, make a loop, and hold that to the line, and then wrap round 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's wrapping around the line as well. Pull that tight, and then leave the tag ends like so. That is to catch the float. As you can see, stop. So you set this at all different depths. And the great thing with this rig is you can cast it out as long as it's well off the bottom. So there, I'd say that's about 3 foot. You can cast this out, leave it for 5 minutes, just give it a little bit of a tweak back, leave it for 5 minutes, a little bit more of a tweak, and what you're doing there is putting more attraction out and getting the fish into the area. Often leads to fish. That little bit of movement often gets you the extra bite. So that is my float fishing rig, and they are the 2 rigs I use. Also, I do a little bit of lure fishing, but that's just 30-pound braid, small rod, small reel, and a trace with a lure on. All those work. It's very much on the day. One last thing to talk about with pike fishing is they are a really soft fish. So if you are new to pike fishing or you've never been before, you need to bring someone with a little bit of experience to teach you how to unhook the fish. But if you do ever get into difficulty and you're inshore, just place the fish back in your net, ring reception, and myself or one of the bailiffs will come down to help you. Well, I hope this video has been informative for pike fishing for you, and I hope to see you all on the bank sometime soon.